Hi there everyone, and welcome to this video. In today's video we're going to cover off invoicing in a consolidated way, right? So I've heard it referred to as many different things sort of over the years, but what we're going to cover off is where you may have on your sales ledger multiple shipments which you need to place onto a single invoice, obviously depending on how you invoice your customer, or on your purchase ledger it could be multiple receipts from POs which you need to place onto a single invoice, again obviously depending on how your vendors invoice you. Okay, so let's get into it, guys. I'm just going to come into the purchase ledger first. So let's go into a purchase order. And what I'm going to do here is just raise a few purchase orders just so you can see the process end to end. And I'm going to go ahead and put on a line on my PO. And I'm going to go in and say receive. Okay, so in order for this process to work, our purchase orders need to be received, not invoiced. Okay, so again, let me just put on another PO for the same vendor, and let's go receive. Okay, so let's say then that the vendor has sent us an invoice with my last two POs on that particular invoice. Okay, so obviously I can go into the purchase order individually and I can then raise an invoice for that, but that wouldn't be reflective of what the vendor has sent me. Okay, so what we'll do here is let's go into purchasing and purchase invoices. I'm going to raise a new invoice for my same vendor, so Fabricam Incorporated. I'm going to put in a vendor invoice number, and what I'm going to do is come down to the line section here. I'm going to go line, functions, and get receipt lines. Okay, so over here, look, I've got basically all of the different lines which I've received but not yet invoiced from this vendor. And here is the last two lines that we've just received. We've got some different reference numbers here. You've got your purchase receipt number, I think is this one here on the left. You've got the buy from vendor number. You've got the line type, the type number, so whether it's an item, the item number, GL account and the GL account number, and then I've got some descriptions, the quantity and the PO number, and it is a common one to have things like the external document number reference added into here as well. Okay, but essentially, guys, what I can do is I can select multiple lines here if I wanted to, or just the one. So I go and select those last two lines. I say OK, and what that will do is it will pull those two lines through to my invoice. Okay, so you can see here in the line section now what I've got is a comment line with the receipt reference, and then I've got the GL account line from my first PO. Then I've got another comment line with the second receipt reference, and then I've got a second GL account line from my second PO. Okay, so I can delete these comment lines, I can change them, these are still editable, it's an unposted invoice, so I can modify these as I see fit, but essentially I can then go ahead and post this invoice when I'm happy. Okay, so I guess, guys, once again, just to reiterate, obviously you wouldn't just invoice like this for the sake of it, you would invoice like this if your supplier invoiced you in this particular way, right? So if the invoice that they sent you, ABC123, had the lines on it in the way that I've got up on screen right now, that's how you would create your consolidated invoice on Business Central on the purchase ledger. Okay, so let's go ahead and post and say yes. And I'm going to say no to opening the posted invoice. And now if I show you here just back on the POs, so if I go back to my first one, I can scroll to the right here and we've got the quantity received and quantity invoiced fields are updated as well, right? So that PO is now fully received and invoiced, and as is this one, okay? So quantity received 1, quantity invoiced 1 on the second PO there as well. So there is a routine which I can run in the background to remove these POs which have been fully received and invoiced if I wanted to, but I'll do another video on that in the future. Okay, so you can do the same thing on your sales ledger as well. So I'll very quickly show you here. Let me go into a sales order. I'll raise a new sales order and I'll select a datum corporation. I'll put in a quantity of 1 and a unit price of 100. And again, this does depend on your business process and how you invoice your customers. But in this particular scenario here, I'm shipping but not invoicing, or shipping and invoicing at the same time. So I'm only shipping, and I won't do a second sales order, guys, but you get the idea, right? So I put on a sales order, I shipped the sales order, and then when I'm ready to invoice, what I can do is come into sales invoices. So it's basically the same as what I did on my purchase ledger. I can select a customer, a datum corporation, I can go line, functions, and get shipment lines. Okay, so where we did get receipt lines on the purchase ledger, it's get shipment lines on your sales ledger. So I'll go ahead and press OK, and that will pull my lines through to my sales invoice in the same way. Obviously, this is just one shipment. You can do this with multiple if you wanted to. So that was really just quickly to show you that you can do it on your sales ledger. And there are a few other ways that we can do this on the sales ledger as well. There are some functions which are added into the background to make life a little bit easier when following this sort of a process. I will do some other videos on that just so you guys can see. But that was everything I wanted to run through. I hope you guys found that useful. Please let me know if you have any questions. Have a play in your sandbox environments. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you on the next one.